Sean Wadsworth, Chair of the Albany Planning Board, calling the meeting to order at 6:36. And we'll just do introductions. So,
Morris West,
Vice
Chair,
Yep.
Planning Board.
Amalia Torres, alternate.
Yep.
Yeah.
And public.
Judith Reardon.
And Peter Smart.
Yes.
Andy Fisher.
Thank you. I'm also the secretary, so you just have to bear with me for my pausing and typing in the middle of all this. But
Just means you're a saint to be willing to do this.
something.
Not easy.
something. And sorry.
Andy Fisher.
Yeah.
And is this correct spelling? F-I-S-C-H-E-R?
No C.
No C.
Thank you for asking.
Yes. Okay. So we'll deal with our administrative stuff later. The only thing I really have to do is, Amalia, I'm appointing you as a member for the meeting. As a voting member. Alright, and then basically we have a preliminary consultation from Mr. Smart and Mrs. Reardon with assistance from Mr. Fisher. So go ahead and present.
Okay, very good. I emailed you along a copy of the plan, or Judy did. Here's some additional ones if you haven't
Thank
seen that. And basically, we own the land on the top of Bald Hill. We have since the mid-'80s, have a network of ski trails and walking trails up there. And we've recently acquired 2 additional lots 92-1 and 2 on that plan, which had belonged to the Goldmans previously and are now Ian and Renee Minushkin. And we would ultimately like to be able to live nearby. We still live in Chicago and get in the car, drive up here, groom trails, etc. We'd like to live here. We've been looking at a good place close to on the trails. And towards that end, we'd like to build on this property. With that in mind, we'd really like to build right on the cul-de-sac that is the end of Aviation Drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's 110 feet across, flat, fully engineered, drained, etc., etc. And it is idle because all of Aviation Drive basically just serves us as the sole landowners. And we own the top of the hill, and then, as I say, 92-1 and 92-2, as well as the cul-de-sac 92-3. And so, before we proceed to ask for a building permit, sitting in the cul-de-sac, we're asking the planning board what other action might be necessary here. Because we are essentially suggesting a reduction, scale back of the road, if you like, from being a full 5-lot subdivision, which was sort of the official title on the previous discussions, back to a private driveway. No one else is using it except us. It is chained at the beginning where that red line is shown. Neighbors would prefer to minimize traffic. No one else is using it to access property other than us.
So you own every lot from the red line chain
No,
eastward?
no. It passes over the lot of Ian and Renee Minushkin at the red chain. And then the next lot after that, is at 791, is owned by Jody Eastwood. So it's the right-of-way passing over those 2 properties.
7, 9, okay, yeah.
Lot 91, yeah.
Yeah,
Map
91,
7,
7, yeah, okay, okay.
But their driveways come from the airstrip.
Yes, but their physical access is over the airstrip. So that's very
Yeah.
important. They do not have any physical access from Aviation Drive, nor do they plan to.
Do they have deeded access?
They do have rights to pass over, yes. Now, of course, Ian owns the first parcel. He owns the underlying land. So he didn't need a deed in order to access that. Jody does have deeded access over Ian's land to get to her property. So yes, they do have deeded access, that's correct.
And what about the properties on the north side?
Ridgeview Drive, none of them have any access to this road.
We're just on the north side of the, what are we calling this? What do you call it?
Well,
So this
Oh,
is
good
actually
question.
Aviation Drive.
Aviation
there.
Drive.
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this.
This on the map
Yes.
is located, but that's actually the
Yes,
drive.
This is actually Aviation
This
Drive.
is a driveway that used to be labeled.
Well, no, excuse me, that is the runway.
Okay,
And it's incorrectly labeled on the tax maps as Aviation Drive. And that's the source of a lot of confusion.
Okay.
but.
Then
so
what is
that's-
sorry, is this the aviation?
That's the runway. No, it's not
That's the
aviation.
runway?
That's the
Okay,
runway,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
There
yeah.
is another driveway then, for these houses
No,
here.
they
Yes.
drive in the runway and then turn into their
Oh,
property.
that is
Yes.
the runway.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't actually fly planes on that section of it, though.
Well, the first lot is owned by Ian, who is a pilot.
Right,
And the second lot is owned by Jody. She does not fly.
but the actual storage places for the planes are further
They're on,
down.
no, they're all on Ian's property. You drive by a hangar when you go in, and that's
Okay.
Ian's. There's
Okay.
no residence there, just the hangar.
Okay.
I kind of have it up here on the thing. On this property
Okay.
you're
Yeah.
talking about right here. Yes? This is
Yes, that's where the
the
hangar
property you're
is.
referring to.
The hangar is
Ian's.
under the 773, right there.
Okay.
And this is
And that's Jody Whitaker.
with a house
Eastman.
Yes,
and a
with a house.
hangar,
That's the only residence on any of this property at present. Dwelling.
active residence.
Yes.
Well, only dwelling, period.
Yeah,
There is no dwelling at the hangar. It's just a hangar.
Yeah.
And there is no dwelling on our property. Jody's the only one. Joe Sullivan lives down here on 793, and he has right-of-way for aircraft only.
Up to
He
the
is- to
airstrip.
the airstrip. He is specifically prohibited from operating motor vehicles on there. If he had access, they would have had to consider that in their previous subdivision.
So he accesses his house from Cook Farm.
Directly off
Yes.
Bald Hill Road.
Baltimore.
Not Cook Farm, but off Bald Hill.
Oh,
Road.
yes,
Oh, okay.
right.
Right
Yeah.
at Hurley
Yes,
Corner,
yes,
he comes
yes.
off
Yeah.
separately.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, down here.
Yes, it's just off the bottom.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah, that red dashed line, his driveway starts within that red line at the bottom.
Down.
Yeah, at Hurley
Yeah.
Corner.
This lot is, what is this, 93-1?
I'm sorry, again, which lot are you looking at?
Underneath this.
Right.
Oh, there, yeah, I've obscured that. Apologies.
Looks like 90.
There's 7 and 9.
Yeah,
No,
this-
It
that's.
looks like 93-1.
Most likely that's
Yeah,
what it is.
93-1?
I
Yeah.
don't think
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, because this is.
93.1,
Yeah.
7-93.1.
Yeah,
And what's happening there?
I don't know, that is Ned Sullivan.
Yeah.
He's
Joe
the helicopter
Sullivan's-
pilot,
Okay.
and he owns those two lots there, and we've had no personal contact with him.
Are they undeveloped?
Well, he has a house on the southern one, 93, and he has a hangar on the northern lot.
Okay. Same person owns both.
Same person owns both, as far as I know.
mhm.
And as I say, he just has the deeded aircraft right to use the runway.
And what's this line right here? It's kind of separating. So we have a, what is this? It's not a separate lot. Is it part of 93-1?
I can't answer that. I haven't looked at those lots in detail.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's probably part of Ian's. That would be Ian's land, because he owns both sides of the runway, and then up here.
Okay.
So that's the Manushkin property, hence the orange right-of-way for aircraft to cross over that to get to the runway. So it's all part of 792.
Oh, this bit of land here
Right, it's all
is
of it.
part of.
Yeah,
Yes.
the runway.
92.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, Andy's confirming that on the subdivision plan.
Thank you.
And if you want to look at this, let us know. This is the recorded plan,
Okay.
which is a bit clearer.
Yeah. All of the lots to the north of what is
Yes.
actually Aviation Drive,
Yes.
are any of who owns these?
They all have residences accessed by Ridgeview Drive. None of them have any deeded rights to Aviation Drive, except for us. When this 5-lot subdivision was approved, people are puzzled where are the 5 lots. The 5 lots are our acreage on the hill, 7112, lots 1 and 2 that were just created, Jody Whitaker's lot, or Eastwood's lot, excuse me, and Ian's. And that's how you actually get 5. So
Okay.
this 5-lot
Sorry.
subdivision,
Would you say I was just
Sure.
trying to find where they are. So I see 7112.
exactly, 92-1, 92-2, and then 791, which is, yes,
Here.
Eastwood, and then the remaining land of the airstrip would be number 5. So,
Which is 792.
right. So that area, north and south of the airstrip, are all part of 792.
I see.
And the 112 is another lot?
We purchased the property in 85, I believe.
Uh-huh.
40 acres at the time, 40 odd acres. We've since expanded by a boundary line adjustment with Debbie Hatch about 5 years ago, which is how it gets up to the 130 acres that it's labeled now.
Okay. And you are moving from Tamworth to one of these?
Well, that's our dream,
Yeah.
to be in the red box there, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I walk there.
Down Aviation Drive, a lot of people do.
No, in the Aviation Drive, I roller skis, in preparation for when I was racing cross country ski.
Ah.
I mean, I thought this is, hallelujah, because I was alone,
Mhm. Yeah.
and no cars, and it's
Yeah.
flat.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it's unusual.
I mean, I sometimes I get, one day I venture in here, I got to the top and I venture to see, and I say, oh my God, this is a pretty.
Up the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
And the public's
I
welcome.
walk in your property legally.
No,
Everybody's
well,
welcome.
people are welcome to do so.
Everybody's welcome.
I live in Stacy Lane.
Oh, yes, I thought you did. Okay.
Good, yes, yes.
I'm still
Mhm.
catching up mentally. So this here is part of.
That's where the
92.
hangar is.
It's part of 92.
Correct.
You're saying?
Yes.
Yes. It
Including
crosses.
this part
Yes.
here,
Yes.
and this is all owned by.
Ian and Renee Mnuchin,
Okay.
who bought it from Jim Goldman.
MINUSHKIN.
And they have no deeded access to what this is, which is technically Aviation Drive.
Well, Aviation Drive crosses the land, the Mnuchin property. So they actually don't need any easement to access that.
Yes.
They do have the rights to use it.
When you say Aviation Drive, you're meaning, because again, the confusion, the
Yes.
runway? The
No,
runway sits on their property.
correct. No, I am referring to the orange.
The
The
dash
actual
line, yeah.
orange
Yes.
is on
This
their
is-
property.
Is on their property.
Right.
This is mostly what-
That's-
Does it help to sketch in what is lot 92?
Yeah,
Do I have that kind of,
yes, that lot numbers that we're trying to,
well, just so, I think so that everybody can, it might be easier to see
yeah, so
the actual, what
Where the
lot
lots are.
92.
so that is 792 and that's 792, is that what you're?
Yeah, and just just actually being able to see the lot lines themselves. You know what I
I
mean? So
have
that-
an idea of what
Exactly.
it is now, but yeah.
do I have, you know what I'm saying? So they can see like what does lot 92
Right.
actually?
Essentially, it started as one large tract of land.
Yeah.
And then they carved out all of the lots you see, hence the very irregular outline
Yeah.
of the remaining land, which is now Minutian.
So lot 92 is one of them, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Correct.
Those are the 5 lots.
Those are the 5 lots, yes.
Interesting. And you own 1, 2, 3 of them.
And the cul-de-sac, which
Cul-de-sac.
wasn't in the count, but yes.
Right. It's 92-3 actually, but it wasn't counted as a separate
Lot.
It's not enough,
lot
it's
in
not a
that
building lot.
5,
Yeah.
right?
So, lot 92 owns the land that you would have deeded access
Correct.
to your house on,
Correct.
Yes.
which is already deeded.
That
It's
was deeded
recorded.
prior to this subdivision approval.
And the owner of lot 91 would continue to have, they own the land that this road is on as well.
At the back of their lot,
Right.
correct?
This part.
Right.
And have the
And
right
they
of
have
way.
a right of way for this part
Yes,
Yes.
to get to their lot.
they do.
Yes.
So those all would stay in place.
Yeah, tentatively.
Yep.
Again, they have no intention to exercise those rights.
Well, it would have to stay in place.
Yeah, and unless
Oh, yeah.
they were to
Oh, yeah.
relinquish it in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not suggesting
I don't-
change.
My understanding of the law is you're not, and I could be wrong, is you're not supposed to have a lot that doesn't have access.
Right.
Understood.
So
So they have access from over the runway,
And over.
oh yes, that's true.
which, and that's what they're intending, they do use and intend to use. The UPS truck goes up the runway to Jody's house.
Yeah.
So they,
And her driveway only comes down from to the airstrip. It doesn't go out to
Yeah.
this paved road. There's just woods between this
I see.
Yeah,
road
but-
we're talking about and her house.
Yeah, the houses are close to the runway and it's heavily wooded
Yeah.
between Jody's house and Aviation Drive on the north.
Just out of curiosity, do you plan to buy, create a new lot that is this road and buy it up so that there's not any?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Well, you don't. So do you have any intention of essentially buying this roadway?
That strip,
From-
there's no need because we have a deeded right of way to cross it.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So residential area, 25-foot setbacks.
Yes.
I'd have to, pull up the ordinance to read what else, but I'm pretty sure this roadway is going to meet all of those things because it had
Right.
to meet it
Right.
to pass. It predates me when this all happened.
Sure.
I'm not familiar with the details of the who, what, when, and how. But, a few of our other board members, Curtis Coleman certainly,
Yes.
as the road agent, is
Yeah.
well versed in what's going on here.
And Tara Taylor is well versed, so.
Yeah,
She's
Tara's no longer on the
Remember
board.
anymore.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, are you finding any conflicts from your research that you think are going to get you denied at the select board level that you want to ask us directly about?
No, because the road standard seems to be determined by the number of dwellings. At first we thought, oh, this is complicated about number of lots, but in the zoning ordinance section about road standard, about roads, it said if you're going to serve if the road's going to serve more than 2 dwellings, you need to start upgrading it according to the road standards. And if there are 3 dwellings, you need to upgrade a section of it and so forth.
Yeah.
But we just want the one little dwelling out on
Yeah.
the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, what we're proposing is there'd be one dwelling there.
This road serving one dwelling.
That's right. You see, my personal view is that Jim Goldman he got permitting for the maximum that might occur.
Yeah.
A dwelling on all of these lots.
Yeah.
Frankly, there was plenty of money available, and the engineers were more than happy to do the design, and the contractors were more than happy to do the work. And as I understand it, everyone, including us, looks at that and says, why did they overbuild it that way?
Yeah.
And we'd like to roll that back a bit and have it not be this, it's 20-foot wide paved road.
Uh,
It's just absolutely, I'm not saying we're gonna change that, but it's just indicative of how overbuilt it is for most purposes.
yes.
So,
And to be able to make use of that cul-de-sac for something
Yes.
seemed good.
so this might not require any action by the planning board. That's a possibility.
Mhm.
Our next step would, well, we have actually the lot merger application, which we'll pass on to you if we don't see any problems, to officially merge lots 92-2 and 3.
Yeah.
So that way the cul-de-sac would become part of that one lot, eliminating those internal boundaries so we can meet our setback requirement, as you point out.
Mhm.
We have about 50 feet back from the boundary line, once those are merged to the proposed house site.
50 feet this way.
East, west, yes, correct, that's right, yeah. So it might not require any action on your part, but certainly I would expect the select board to have similar questions of what you've raised here. It's a complicated lot.
Yeah.
We didn't wanna,
And
make more preparations and go for a building permit and find,
So,
oops, there's a problem with
Yeah.
putting something in the cul-de-sac.
so the red footprint for the house is on what's currently paved, part of the paved
Exactly,
cul-de-sac.
that's right, that's right. Yeah. So one of the interesting things is that all the drainage impacts up there have already occurred. It's already paved. They put in drainage per DES requirements, line ditches, everything else, and we're not gonna do anything that will increase the impervious surface up there. The house is gonna sit on what is now pavement.
Right.
And all of the existing drainage infrastructure will be untouched. So that's why we feel that's a great place to build. We don't have to do that site work
yeah.
if we can take advantage of those things.
Again, without researching it, intuitively to me, if you're talking about downgrading the road as it was designed for subdivision, again, intuitively, not saying definitively, it seems to me you would need to make this no longer a 5-lot subdivision and make it a 2-lot or
Mhm.
so you
Driveway.
might be needing to merge all 3 of these lots into one lot, because the scenario is if we leave these lots separate, you build your house, then at some point, like we all do, you pass on and die, and then the land is sold off to someone else, then whoever buys these up could then say, oh, I have rights to build on 92-1, and I have rights to build on 112, and now it's back to being a 5-lot subdivision with a downgraded cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
And then that's somebody else's problem to upgrade the cul-de-sac at that point. So that would be the thing we wouldn't want to, the trap we
Understood.
don't want to fall into. So again, not saying definitively, but that's what comes to my mind as the pitfall here.
Mhm.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're just proposing merging 92.3 and 92.2, which is this lot with the cul-de-sac.
At this point, that's correct.
And I would intuitively, or my guess would be that you might be needing to merge all of these.
Okay. Now-
but I'm
Part
not
of
saying
our-
that definitively.
Right. My comment on that would be that if someone were building on all 5 lots, you'd have 5 dwellings. But as I understand it, the road requirement is for the number of dwellings being served, not the number of lots. So we're only talking about one dwelling being accessed by the road. And certainly if other dwellings were built later, then a condition of those building permits is that they have to have suitable access. So it's arguable that they might have to upgrade the access if all 5 were to be built out. The dilemma we have is we're burdened with the road standard for 5 dwellings and only 1 exists.
Mhm.
That's why we're here essentially.
And two of the lots, we got one, so 91 already has the physical access off of the
Right.
right-of-way in the airstrip.
Yes.
So even though they have a right-of-way across the top, to sort of hold everybody's, not hostage, but to make everybody beholden to allowing them to still keep the potential down the line to maybe access their house from up there doesn't make a whole lot of sense since they already have their access. There'd be no good reason for them to give up their existing built access to then decide to come down from above. And then the same thing with 92, that already accesses prior to the majority of the road. So just from a practical standpoint, it's there just wouldn't, it doesn't make sense that there would be 5, period. But again, to your point of looking to the future to maybe make sure that it doesn't get downgraded and then
Need to be
someone
upgraded.
tries
Yeah.
to upgrade it because they have a right, perhaps.
Yes.
And I guess, yeah, part of our thinking is that we haven't decided whether we would merge 92-1 with the big lot 7-112 or with the 92-2, but we certainly wouldn't be having somebody put a house there. It's not suitable for that. And if we passed on and somebody wanted to put a house there, it would probably be, it'd be too discouraging for them because they couldn't really restore the cul-de-sac, and that's about how we'd like it. So,
And that would still only make 2
right.
residences.
Then we're talking about
Two
two
residential.
So it's
lots.
still just driveway standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so 7-112,
Yes.
even if that cul-de-sac didn't get downgraded,
Yeah.
that would be difficult to put a residence on anyway for its the slope and everything.
It's
there,
steep,
right?
yes. Yeah. Now our access to 7-112 is not drawn on there, but it's a right-of-way that comes off, you see the distance of 335.39, just to your left?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a right-of-way that comes off right in the middle of that and goes north and then east. And that's how we actually access 112. That's just a private driveway. does not
Oh,
appear
that's
on any of the
where you
plans.
store your equipment, right? Off that little.
Sometimes, yeah,
right,
Exactly.
yeah, that's our ski
Yeah.
trail at the
Right,
moment. Yes,
right.
that's right.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that is, so if there were to be a house on 112, it would not go through the cul-de-sac to
Right.
get there is what I'm getting
Right.
at.
Yep.
The back slope of the cul-de-sac is a 45-degree slope with a rock retaining wall.
Yeah.
It is not possible for anyone ever to go off the back of the cul-de-sac.
That's the thing that slumped and they had to rebuild it with all the stone there because it's so steep.
I've seen it, and I appreciate all the practicality. I also have the question on just what is. So,
Yeah.
Sure.
does Lot 112 have a deeded access to the cul-de-sac?
Well, it has deeded access to use Aviation Drive. That's all the deed says. To use Aviation Drive for the purposes of accessing 112. It doesn't say anything specifically about the cul-de-sac.
I think it says for purposes of, we can use that paved road to access our driveway, which is the
Okay.
driveway that goes through
The
106.
driveway up to 112.
So I'd have to double check the wording of it, but I don't think it specifically says we can use the cul-de-sac for
I'm
112.
I'm sure it doesn't mention
Oh,
it.
and
It just
10
says Aviation Drive.
It says
Yeah.
It doesn't say how to get there.
Yeah.
That's right.
and lot 106 you guys own or someone else
Yeah,
owns that one?
7-112 is the other land we own. Oh, 106.
107,
No, we
106.
just have a right of way
Oh,
over it.
yep.
Oh, yes, that's correct. We just have a right of way over that. Yeah. Yeah, so we, again, you know, coming back to item 1 there, the only traffic past, or sorry, item 3, the only, that's currently chained, the intention is to maintain some kind of a gate there. And there's nothing, no properties are served over that route except for the lots we currently own and the one proposed dwelling. So again, it's sort of the practicality. We'd like to be able to shrink the road a bit, visually and otherwise, and not have to maintain the cul-de-sac and the 5-lot standards when no one is using them.
Mhm.
It's a dilemma.
It's a dilemma.
Yeah.
It's a dilemma. It's
It's-
permitted and built to a spec,
Right.
and
Understood.
downgrading that's a new one. So-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Understood.
we thought it might not be all that common.
And I guess worst case, that's what you would consider, as in rescinding this plan and granting a new subdivision approval in its place that created the lots at issue. But I guess what would you do if this came to you and we simply wanted a private driveway
Yeah.
to go into lots 1 and 2? And we're basically just creating 1 or 2 additional lots. It's not 5. We're only bringing 2 lots to the table, the lots 1 and 2. And that's all we want to access with this driveway. Everything else still exists, and everything else already has access over the runway. Jim chose to add those into the 5 for whatever reason. I wouldn't have done it, but it wasn't necessary. That count of 5 really is inflated.
If I'm misunderstanding what you just said, you're
Okay.
adding lots 1 and 2. You're talking about 92-1, 92-2. But
Correct.
I thought you said they were already part of the 5.
They are part of the 5. I'm just saying, if we were starting over,
Oh, yes.
then Jim might
You were
have
starting from scratch.
If we're starting from
Right,
scratch,
without the approval.
before the 5-lot subdivision was done, it could have been a 2-lot subdivision, is
Sure.
what I'm arguing.
Could have been whatever. Yeah.
So worst case, we roll back to that scenario,
Mhm.
and we do a new subdivision approval for what's actually gonna happen, rather than the 5 lots, which is a dream not happening.
Someone else's dream.
It's someone else's dream, that's,
It's gone now.
right, it's impractical and gone. I know it's rare for people to do the cost and the permitting for more than they need, but that's,
They're
yeah,
planning ahead for the big payout. I think.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how to answer it
sure.
off the cuff. So I'm gonna need to read about it. Can't give you an answer tonight. But I guess I gave you my intuition, which would be,
Mhm.
what's the hesitation to just making all of these one lot?
Lots 1 and 2?
112, 1, 2, and 3.
It's possible, but it does close off our options in the future.
Yeah.
Um,
For development.
Not so much for development, we're thinking more about combinations with adjacent properties. It might be Tin Mountain or other landowners. You know, as long
To
as they're,
preserve the trail network, basically.
as long as there are lots of record, we've got options to do boundary line adjustments there
Mhm.
that go away once a boundary line is erased.
Yes.
We've certainly thought about it. But for example, if we build a house
So
there,
is it basically the thought of if you build on 92.3 and 92.2, you could eventually, deed these or whatever to conservation?
exactly,
Right.
if there's all one lot with a house on it,
Yeah.
then it's difficult to separate.
Yeah.
Not impossible. Could be done with a boundary line adjustment, for example. But yeah, we're conflicted because we'd like to keep everything as it is, but we would also like to live there
Yeah.
and not impair our ability to protect the land long term.
Yeah.
We know someone else is gonna come to the house after us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I hear all your intentions. It's a sticky one
Yeah.
because you're talking about the things you want to do now and the things you want to do in the future with
Right.
these lots, and then there's what the 5-lot subdivision allows. And once you downgrade part of what is the 5-lot subdivision, it affects the subdivision at large.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
there's a little chicken and the egg of like, well,
Yeah.
this land's not in conservation yet. It's just private land that
Right.
could, I hear the practicality that it's steep slope and no one's going to develop it,
Right.
but that doesn't mean someone with a lot of money wouldn't come in and
Oh,
just
exactly.
blow holes in the side of the hill
Yeah.
and make a big house on it.
Exactly.
Uh,
I guess what we caught our attention was that the road or driveway requirements do refer to the number of dwellings
Mhm.
served.
mhm.
And so we're only asking for access to one dwelling, and anyone proposing a dwelling in the future would have the responsibility for providing whatever road access the town feels is necessary. And I do understand your position that we've already sort of guaranteed that access.
Yes.
But I'm suggesting that we undo that in some way, that that's excessive and it's resulted in sort of a premature development of that area.
Yeah.
No one wants that road, no one's using it,
Right.
but we've got to maintain it basically.
Yeah, I would presume you would like to turn it to gravel.
Well, we're not going to.
grind it up
Yeah,
and-
if it were gravel, we would be happy, let's put it that way.
Yep. Much cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In practice, we might narrow it some.
Yep.
One thought is to reduce the 20 feet of pavement to 15 feet,
Yep.
still quite adequate for a couple of houses, and have a grassed shoulder for ski trail and pedestrian use along one side.
Yeah.
And none of that would affect the road base or the culverts or any of the drainage, so someone could always come back in later and put the 20-foot road back in if they needed to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
We're not,
Maybe.
we're not taking out the infrastructure. Building in the cul-de-sac would take out that infrastructure, that's true. You could not readily restore that. The ground is steep and wet, and there's nowhere else to do that turnaround.
Yeah, I wish I could, or I don't know if there's any more thoughts, could give you a more definitive answer on how to proceed, but I don't have one.
Me neither.
Yeah, I hear both sides and they both sound, feasible. I don't know, what the regulations are.
What is the process and the regulations for downgrading a approved subdivision is what we need to research.
So one thought that I have, or a question to ask,
Yep.
is what about just a reduction in the size of that cul-de-sac? Is that something where, does it need, does that sort of, hammerhead type thing, does it need to look like that? Or, because presumably the reason for having a cul-de-sac at the end of the thing is so that the fire engines can turn around. If there were a way to reduce that or pull it back or potentially change that in a way that allows the building to
Yeah.
be built and still, and I think that's why if we're talking about only a driveway to one dwelling, it wouldn't, that whole big turnaround wouldn't be required.
Right.
It's only because it was supposed to access more than two dwellings.
Yes.
And if it's not, well, then you don't need this big, huge honking area.
Agree, except there's still these lots that could be developed in that's the catch. It's like, yeah, you want to downgrade it, but you still have the option to build on these lots.
Right.
Or somebody does. The landowner, whoever that is, it's you right now, someone else in the future, those are buildable lots.
Right. But of course, they would have to comply with the access requirements at that point. So I agree, we're taking back certain things now, but that doesn't mean the town is forfeiting those requirements permanently. If someone else wants to put a dwelling in there, they still have to satisfy your requirements for access.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So I just don't know.
Yeah.
Got to do some research on,
It's
on
unusual.
rolling back a approved subdivision.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
I suspect the select board. Well, who knows? I'm not going to suspect anything about the select board.
Right,
Right.
understood.
And it would have been great. Unfortunately, a few of our members aren't here, but I think Curtis would have had some good insight on this too.
Okay.
That's as much information as I have for you, I guess.
Should we come to the next meeting and continue this discussion? Is
That sounds
appropriate?
great to me. I mean, yeah, that sounds good to me. We could have a continued preliminary
That's
consultation.
fine.
Cool.
You could also go to the select board and just apply and see what happens. So,
Yep.
they're either going to kind of approve or deny.
Understood.
And if it's a denial, then you have the option for the ZBA
Okay.
for a variance, or you could come to planning board for, as mentioned, a new subdivision application, which
Mhm.
that's, there's time and money in that. And
Yeah.
I hear that you're hoping to not do that. So
Yeah.
I get that too. I get the part where it seems like it's not being used, we own the land, we should be able to put a house there. And
Right.
I support that leaning. At the same time, have to honor the land use,
Mhm.
which is a 5 lot approved subdivision. So like I said, we're gonna have to research what it is to go
It's-
backwards.
It's, right, it's awkward. I mean, we're all
Yeah.
put in this situation we don't really want to be.
Yeah. So, good news is you have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's all I can't really say anything further. It's just speculation on my part.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank you.
Okay.
discussing it. Yeah.
Right.
And then on an aside, thank you for the trails. They're amazing.
Yeah, that's
You're
good.
welcome.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you all.
I'm really glad
Do
you
you think you're gonna go to select board, or just wait till next month and?
Very good question.
Yeah.
To go to the select board, you've really raised the question that's on my mind right now. To go to the select board, we would need to merge the cul-de-sac with lot 2.
Mm.
Because they're not gonna grant a building permit on the cul-de-sac because our proposed building is within 25 feet of the boundaries.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
done.
Right.
Whereas if those were merged, that issue would be resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now thinking out loud, Judy,
Yeah.
do we present the application now
Sure.
to
I
merge?
mean,
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, you merge a lot, you can't
Exactly.
unmerge them, but
Exactly.
it's not. You're doing away with the
right, we wouldn't be
cul-de-sac lot, you couldn't do
unmerging the
anything with.
cul-de-sac.
That's
on,
right.
on its own anyway.
That's right,
I
exactly.
guess if it's really.
I would ask this, because when you submit the application, then there's a clock starts ticking. And I don't remember what it is, if it's 30 days or 45 days or
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some time for us not knowing any to research this
Yeah.
and kind of figure out how to walk back. So
Sure.
I would ask if you'd be willing to wait till next month with our full board to kind of further the discussion, and then at that point, if you want to submit that, and the clock will start ticking for us to definitively take action on whether the merge, that proposed merge, 92.3 and 92.2, would be permitted at all.
Okay.
And
That process would begin, and it'll have a conclusion. That process will
Right.
and then whatever the next process is after that. If it's approved and everything's fine with that, great. If it's not, and then you'd be looking at what are the next steps, whether it's apply for new subdivision or go to ZBA or something else. I don't know.
And when you're, trying to visualize what, responding to the merger application,
Yeah.
the reason to not approve the merger would be to do with the road standards or,
All of these things we just discussed. I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I can posit scenarios where that gets denied.
But I mean, if they own the 2 lots, they should be, and they want to merge them, they should be able to merge. The right of way doesn't go anywhere by merging the 2 lots. It's just the underlying
Yeah.
land becomes, instead of 2 lots, just
Yeah,
becomes
it's
one
just
lot.
the
Like
tax
the
record.
merger,
That's a good
merger
point.
application
Yeah.
says merger shall be approved unless it violates regulations,
true.
so I was trying
That's a
to.
good point. The right of
Yeah,
way
yeah.
still
Where-
holds.
The right of way stays, yeah. It's not the building permit, it's just the lot merger.
Mm-hmm.
And the 792-3 is
Yes.
just this
It's just the cul-de-sac,
just
exactly, that's right.
outline in red.
Yeah, Jim
Yeah.
Goldman kept that as a separate tract because he originally owned it, but it was then disconnected from the remainder of the runway land. That's why it came into being. He decided, for whatever reason, it didn't want it to be part of lots 92, 1 or 2. And so
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
designated as 3.
Hmm.
Didn't have to be done that way, but that's what they opted to do. So it's on the tax records, there's 0 assessed value. We are the owners of 92, 3.
Yeah.
A nice puzzle.
It is a nice puzzle. Yeah, Mr. Fisher, as you said, the rights would remain. So I suppose you could submit that application now if you want to. It's up to you.
I'm thinking, if it becomes a really good idea to do merger agreements, then we save $100 by not merging 1 now and 2 now.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold off for that reason.
Okay.
So, and again, thinking out loud, the one reason for us to, sorry, so what's your timeline for processing a merger application?
I have to look it up.
I understand it doesn't require a public hearing, right? It's just a decision by the board.
I gotta look it up.
Okay, all right, sorry. Because of course, if we were to discuss a building permit with the selectmen, it's a non-starter until we merge the lots, so there's no point even having that discussion.
That's correct.
Right, voluntary merger, may do so for applying to the planning board. Such request shall be approved and no public hearing or notice shall be required.
I'm not filing this with you yet, but there's, that's page
Give it to
3
handing
of
us
the
our own
application.
forms. Yeah.
Give it to you inside.
Yeah. Um, I don't see any conflicts in that.
I can't see any conflicts.
Just got our new books. Well, if you want to submit it, we can do that and see where it goes.
The filing fee's 100 plus the recording fees. I thought it would only be the one-page recording fee, but it wasn't clear. Thank you, Helen. Thank you.
So you inclined upon that now?
I don't get this minute.
Sounds like we're headed, and maybe we should do the meeting next time. Then
Yeah.
decide at that point. Okay, good. All right, let's hold off on that. We will not submit that at the moment.
Okay, I was just trying to. I was gonna
Sure.
look up the,
Right,
the timelines. but
that's fine. And,
next meeting will give us some time to
Okay.
research.
Perfect.
Thank you.
great,
Okay, thank
excellent.
you again.
Thanks.
Well, good luck with the machine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's buying a pipe bender to unbend it.
Yeah. Wow. Heavy work.
Hope you have time to get out on the trails.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. That's fun.
That was fun. Yeah, interesting. My question with this is, you know, well, first of all, this load, you know, the runabout is only 0.45 acres, yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Then it's not the 2 acres, you know, for for housing that we have in here in the bylaws.
Correct.
Of course that if they own this, but they are not attaching this tree. I mean, how are you gonna allow a house in this when it doesn't have the acreage that the bylaws?
Right.
They're
require?
proposing to merge it with the 10.10 acres.
Are they doing that?
That's their plan.
They just
Okay.
held off if they
Okay.
were gonna submit.
That's their plan is to
Yeah.
take 92-3 and
Uh-huh.
92-2 and merge them as one.
Oh, okay, okay.
So.
Yeah, but if you merge it, then you can, in the future, can you separate it again? You have to go through a process?
You would have to go
It's a
subdivision.
subdivision.
Now,
process,
that's interesting to me though. So the subdivision plan was approved in 2022. Were the 2 acre minimum for lots in place in 2022? I assume they were.
Yes, no, I think so.
Yeah, the reason it was approved in 22 is because they had something like, this thing went through before 2022,
Okay.
but then they never filed it or something like that. And so then they looked back and like, oh, we never filed it at Registry of Deeds. So they kind of resubmitted the original approved plan to get it filed. So it was already approved, backdated when this
Right.
all happened.
Because,
Whenever
right,
it
this, right, you know, if it was 2022, I can't see how they would approve 792-3 as a lot, it being that it's not 2 acres.
That's
Right,
what-
but
yeah.
I don't, and we'd have to read the thing, but maybe it's like, that's not a buildable lot, it's just a right of way. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But clearly it's not
No.
a 2 acre buildable lot, yeah. I don't know.
It is a lot of land.
It's a lot of land.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's this, the 92 one, it has some nice view because I walk over there and nobody, then I walk. And now the person that lives in the 91.7 is an old woman. And because I met her when I was doing my roller skis, she saw that I was completely, crazy. And she stopped the car and I say, oh, she's gonna kick me out, yeah? I know, but she told me, how did you do it? You need to be careful, yeah? I mean, she's old, yeah. Very nice lady, yeah? She said, you do it whatever you want, but, call me here on my phone. You call me and I call 911.
That's kind of her.
So were you on Aviation Drive with the cul-de-sac at the end with those, or were you on the airstrip?
In the airstrip,
Yeah,
yeah, in the
runway.
airstrip. No, I mean the roller ski doesn't stop. The
Right.
only way to stop is to jump.
Yeah, yeah.
Ski jump, and you crazy, you know, that's a big deal for roller
Yeah.
skis, yeah. I have taken some, but that's not, yeah.
Yeah,
No, the aviation drive, yeah.
yeah, they don't,
Yeah. And they are not using it anymore because the guy changed for a helicopter. Because one day I started to hear a noise, but it was not the airplane, and when I turned, I have the helicopter, you know, fairly close to me, and I just jump out of the, yeah. I say, I'd rather jump and let them fly away. Yeah, yeah, but the guy has a helicopter now, yeah, yeah.
All right, well, I'm just gonna get back to the business of the meeting, which isn't too much, really just minutes.
Yeah.
And so we have the December 9th minutes. Amalia, you were excused.
Mhm.
Morris, you were here. I was here. So
I'm sorry to say I haven't actually read over the minutes.
Okay.
I can assume they're appropriate, but we could table it
we can
next
table
time.
it.
Mhm.
Table it.
Yeah, I read it when you sent it, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, being that it's only me and you to vote on per se,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a quorum anyway.
And then what's coming up for March is appointments. So would each of you be willing to continue? I gotta look up your terms. It might not even be your term right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I
my
don't-
term.
I don't think, because I have been in here, what, a month?
Yeah,
No, not
yeah.
even a year, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it
my
even.
term is up, but yeah,
Hope you were willing to
That's
continue
fine.
all the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
until there's someone else willing to take my spot, I'll stay.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're here for life, Morris.
Yeah, you are not
We'll see how
replaceable.
long heart, yeah, no, I doubt there's anyone knocking on to take my
No,
spot.
no. By the way, somebody was, speaking to me about you and Sean, very, she has a very high opinion of both of you. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Whoever it is. Keep it anonymous. Well, that's it. So I don't have any further business to put forward. Anyone else have any further business? All right.
None.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
Go ahead, yeah,
Oh,
she
yeah?
can second, yeah.
Amalia, second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:35.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.